Please welcome our host for this evening, Canadian journalist and television anchor of the News Forum, Ms. Catherine Murray.
Good evening, everyone. Please stand or remain standing for our national anthem. The City of Toronto acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the 43rd Canadian Business Hall of Fame Gala and Induction Ceremony. It is my pleasure to be your MC this evening. It's very exciting to be here. Last year I had the honor of hosting the virtual induction ceremony and celebration, which was fantastic and a lasting tribute to the 2021 companions. But there is nothing like being together in person. It was actually really something that we dreamed of post last year's event and wondering what will next year bring, and here we are. 1,058 days later, or 2 years, 10 months, and 23 days. I know you will all agree how fortunate we are to be here, as COVID has been unkind to so many, and as we feel for our friends in Ukraine. And also, of course, how lucky we are to be in Canada. When I was asked to host following Peter Mansbridge, I was a little bit hesitant. He's pretty fabulous in my books and has pretty big shoes to fill, and I'm sure his are better than mine. And of course, hearing and learning more about how JA helps young people set their professional path in life with so many great programs, it really struck a chord with me. I really never would have learned about Bay Street and Wall Street and made my way to Goldman in the States without the champions and incredible mentors I've had along the way, and same would be said for BNN. So it was an absolute yes. I'd love to contribute, as all of you have done and are doing tonight. And I know I've interviewed a lot of you in the room tonight, previously. I hope I was always kind, and I hope I was always fair. Interestingly, JA Canada was established in 1955, the same year Disneyland opened, which was July 17th. Gold was at $35.15 an ounce. And also, the microwave was actually invented, and the Detroit Red Wings did beat the Montreal Canadiens and the Stanley Cup champions. One clap. That was only one. But, you know, and a lot of interesting things have happened since 1955. For one, it's interesting, Paul Volcker got rid of inflation. Wait, did he? And, of course, we also had the fall of the Soviet Union. Did we? And then, of course, Nixon went to China to improve relations. But back to 2022 and tonight. You will find the evening's agenda, menu, and details about the Canadian Business Hall of Fame, JA, and our companions, present and past, in your program guide. Tonight's gala is one of the first events of its class to once again be hosted in person here at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. Thank you to everyone in the room who is working here tonight and has helped us put this together. But more than being an elegant evening out, tonight we will witness the induction of 5 visionary leaders to the Canadian Business Hall of Fame. We will have the opportunity to learn from their stories and to toast their success and contributions to our country. The 2022 inductees, to name, are Maureen Kempston Darks, Hassan Koreshahi, or Mr. K as he's finally called, Paul Demeray Jr., Andre Demeray, and Paul Guy Demeray, who is with us in spirit. They join an illustrious group of women and men who have previously been inducted as companions to the Canadian Business Hall of Fame. Please welcome a few of those past companions who are with us tonight: Jim Basili, Joseph Shannon, and Kaylin Rovanescu. In addition to gathering for a celebration, your presence tonight and your contributions are a gift to Junior Achievement of Canada, helping fuel their mission to equip youth with skills for success. The Canadian Business Hall of Fame Gala is JA Canada's signature fundraising event, and it's important to note that tonight's event is possible because of sponsorships. So we want to thank our presenting sponsor, which is BMO Financial Group, our media partner, the Globe and Mail, our companion sponsors, IGM Financial, Canada Life, CN, Westbuild, Paris Holding, and the Power Corporation of Canada. And also our advocate sponsors, National Bank and the Peter and Joanne Brown Foundation, and our video sponsor is Fiera. I was also moved to see the gifts made in honor of companions inspiring our future leaders. Thank you to all who have contributed, and if you are inclined to get more involved with the CBHF or JA, you will see a contact card on your table or available at registration. And I know many of you are fond partners of Junior Achievement, have served as volunteers, or may have children who have participated in the organization's impactful financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and career readiness programs. Tonight's business leaders serve as role models for the next generation that JA is equipping with skills and experience. Tomorrow's leaders will make our country even stronger and even more confident about its role in the world than it is today. And to speak more about the impact of JA, it is my pleasure to introduce President and Chief Executive Officer of Junior Achievement Canada, Mr. Scott Hillier.
I always love it when someone greets you and says, "I'm a hugger." Just makes me feel warm to start off. Catherine, thank you very much, sincerely, for offering your time to MC and for bringing your family to tonight's celebration. Good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled to see so many familiar faces and welcome new friends and supporters to celebrate the achievements of the 5 distinguished Canadians we're honoring tonight. For those of you who are not aware, Junior Achievement of Canada is part of JA Worldwide, and it's the world's largest charity dedicated to inspiring and preparing youth to succeed with free financial, work readiness, and entrepreneurial programs. Each year, over 12 million youth participate in JA across more than 100 countries. Given the recent global events, we believe our work to prepare and empower youth is more relevant now than ever. And it turns out people in high places may agree with that sentiment. You may not have heard, but we were recently humbled to learn that JA has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Oh, thank you. So JA is honored with this nomination to be part of a network that's making such a profound impact that supports young people to achieve prosperous and fulfilling careers. Such recognition can be attributed to the countless volunteers and donors, many are in the room tonight, who every day make JA a reality for the youth in their community. And it inspires us to do more. improving our programs, increasing our reach to more youth across Canada. We currently reach close to 250,000 students each year in Canada, but we know we can do more. During the pandemic, JA Canada innovated and adopted new capabilities for our offering to students. We invested in a digital transformation initiative that sustained our impact and unlocked new delivery methods that's attracted self-directed learners and powered teacher-facilitated programming as well. And these new capabilities are allowing us to expand and target our outreach, ensuring that our programs are accessible to youth in both remote and underserved communities. Now, all of this is made possible because of partnership. Partnership with our charter offices across the country, who manage close relationships with their respective ministries of education and schools. Partnership with our board of directors, many are here tonight, who contribute and continue to push us to do better and help us find efficiencies to ensure we operate like a smart and resilient business. Partnership with great organizations and contributors who are fueling our digital transformation and helping us to build a world-class learning platform like Deloitte and Amazon. And partnership with the longtime program delivery sponsors like RBC, CIBC, TD, HSBC, Zurich, and so many, many more, who enable us to bring our programs for free into the classrooms. By attending tonight, you too have partnered with JA. Your attendance honors the 2022 class of CBHF companions and also supports JA in our pursuit to build a brighter future for the next generation of innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders. This evening, we will hear from great business leaders of our time. But we thought you might also want to hear from a JA student, one of tomorrow's leaders. JA Company Program, for those that aren't aware, is our flagship program where students are put in teams and they conceive and develop their own business venture. Tonight, you'll meet a young CEO of one of those student teams. Jen Schofield attends St. Robert Catholic High School in Thornhill, Ontario, and has participated in JA since 2019. Jen and her team created Market Angelo and won local, national, and international JA competitions. They represent the potential of Canadian youth, they represent JA, and they represent our future. Please join me in welcoming the CEO of Market Angelo, Jen Schofield.
Hello everyone, my name is Jin. I'm a student participant of JA's company program, and I'm so thankful to be here today to speak about my experience with the JA company program. I joined the program nearly 3 years ago, and it has easily been one of the largest sources of growth and new experiences I've had in high school. Company program is a program in which hundreds of teams of high school students across Canada are each sponsored by a company and spend 6 months building and operating a company from scratch. I'm the CEO of Market Angelo, which is a JA company team founded in 2020. At Market Angelo, we strive to educate youth about ESG ethical investing and achieved this by creating a game platform at marketangelo.ca where users can participate in contests and attend events. While building Market Angelo, we learned about sales pitches, how to build technology products from scratch, marketing, how to work as a team, and everything in between. After months of hard work, we were able to gain $8,000 in revenue with PayPal, Questrade, the Canadian Pension Plan, and TMX as sponsors, gain 300 users on our platform, and after winning JA Central Ontario's Canadian Company of the Year, compete at JA Americas, where we won first place in the continent. We were very proud to be featured. We were very proud to be featured in the Globe and Mail special section you see here tonight. Mainly, I want to express my gratitude to JA, to Deloitte, our team sponsor, to our advisors, and to all of you for being here tonight in support of the Canadian Business Hall of Fame. I never imagined that the company program would give me the opportunity to be in the presence of major business leaders and CEOs like Mrs. Kempston Darks, Mr. Kay, Mr. Desmarais, and Mr. Desmarais Jr. Thank you for allowing us to hear from you and learn. Thank you to everyone who made our journey possible. Tonight's event is presented by BMO. I am pleased to welcome Daryl White, CEO of BMO. Mr. White, who lives in Montreal, has served as CEO since 2017. He has graduated through a variety of leadership roles in the bank and led investment in corporate banking in Toronto and Montreal and in the US. He serves on business councils in Ottawa, Washington, and Beijing. He is a celebrated, energetic leader, loved by colleagues, and was a recipient of Canada's Top 40 Under 40, an award that I aspire to get one day. We also admired Daryl's commitment to diversity and community involvement with the United Way, his leadership of the Inclusive Local Economic Opportunity Roundtable, his co-presidency of the Montreal Children's Hospital Foundation, and directorship of the National Hockey League's Montreal Canadiens in Alpine Canada. It's an honor to meet you, Mr. White.
I think the future is pretty bright. I got to tell you, if I had a time machine, I want to go back and become you, not the other way around. Thank you, Jen. That was very kind, and it is very impressive. I think I speak for everyone here when I say you are why we are all here tonight. You and all of your peers across JA that we love to support at JA Canada. So congratulations, Jen, to you and your fellow students creating Market Angelo. Yeah. And for being celebrated as the Company of the Year for your efforts. Jen's mission and helping young people discover their ESG values and make investment decisions accordingly is so timely, and it is so important, and it fills me with confidence for our next generation of entrepreneurs, the next generation of entrepreneurs who will grow the kind of thriving, sustainable economy and inclusive society that will drive progress for all. Please join me in recognizing all of the JA achievers here tonight. So we're also gathered here tonight to honor business leaders who have paved the way for the next generation, leaders who have shaped Canadian business and philanthropy at home and abroad. The achievements of Maureen, of Hassan, Mr. K, of Andre Desmarais, Paul Desmarais Jr., and Paul Desmarais Sr. are legendary in Canada's boardrooms, and I'm proud to be here tonight to help all of you recognize them. As presenting sponsors of tonight's dinner, BMO Financial Group is honored to see all of you here in person. Like you, we're looking forward to hearing from the 2022 inductees and celebrating their many contributions. With their accomplishments, our honorees tonight prove that if you want to make a difference, if you want to make a difference in your community, if you want to make a difference in the quality of life of your neighbors, if you want to elevate the arts and culture of our country, then pursuing a career in business is one of the greatest ways that you can make a personal impact. For these honorees, it wasn't necessarily what they did, but it was also how they did it. And when young people just dreaming of starting their career see what leaders like our honorees tonight have accomplished, I can think of no better way to inspire them. So, I would like to propose a toast to Maureen, to Hassan, and to the Desmarais family. Thank you for the difference you have made in the communities that you serve. Thank you for your leadership. Our country is truly fortunate to have you on Team Canada. Cheers.
Good evening and welcome back to the next portion of our program. It is an honor to be with you this evening and bring greetings on behalf of Junior Achievements Board of Directors and celebrate the strength of Canada's business community. We are grateful for the attendance of so many dignitaries and particularly recognize that we have amongst us the Right Honourable Jean Chrétien. at Junior Achievement continue to be humbled by the support of Canada's business community, and I would like to extend our deepest thanks for your ongoing commitment to JA. This evening, I have the privilege of extending our appreciation for the volunteers who execute on our commitment to mentor, educate, and inspire the next generation of Canadian leaders. Without this dedicated group of volunteers, our ability to reach students would fall short of success. Before I get into my final remarks, I would like to take a moment and reflect on the past year, which was yet another year of change and challenge. Pandemic, economic turndown, economic recovery, war, high anxiety, return to normal. Through these extreme shifts, two things have remained stable for Junior Achievement. First, the staff, volunteers, and students continue to thrive irrespective of the challenges they have faced. On behalf of the board, I would like to extend gratitude to Scott and his team and all of the charters across Canada who continue to fight the good fight through adversity none of us could have ever foreseen. Yeah, thanks. The second stabling factor is the business community itself. We recognize that many of you had your own fiscal and labor challenges, yet you found a way to generously support our mission. Without you, we would not be here this evening, and for this I thank you. Now on to some recognition. Mentors appear in our lives in so many ways. Scott spoke earlier about the impact of mentors sharing real work-life experience. Jen, our company program student, spoke about the support she received from a volunteer mentor. And among the values that the CBHF recognizes is philanthropy, volunteerism, community engagement, and mentorship. Each year, thousands of volunteers give their time to serve as career mentors and facilitators of the JA programs. They are the everyday unsung heroes of our organization. The Royden Richardson National Volunteer Awards were inspired by Royden Richardson himself, a longtime JA volunteer. Royden was a man who was fiercely proud to be Canadian, lived a life devoted to family, business, and community. These awards recognize volunteers whose participation and lasting contribution to JA and its programs have immeasurably furthered the aims and objectives of Junior Achievement Canada. 2 awards are available. One for a program volunteer, of which there are 2 recipients this year, and the other for a governance volunteer. Tonight, we are proud to highlight this year's winners of the Royden Richardson Volunteer of the Year Awards. Stephanie Ma, a program volunteer from Northern Alberta, Max Lane, a program volunteer in British Columbia, and Kelly Heed, the winner of the Governance Volunteer Award in British Columbia. Please join me in congratulating our awardees. The business leaders being inducted tonight into the Hall of Fame are joining a group of extraordinary people who were enshrined in earlier years. Sadly, 4 of them have passed away since our last gala dinner. As we look to the future, it's appropriate that we pause to remember those who have helped to take us this far. J.R. Shaw, Frank Hasenfratz, Guy St. Pierre, Donald Sobey, and Maxwell Ward. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening.
Well, the legacy of those who have passed inspires us all. And you will find a full listing of all the inspiring companions in your program guide and an impressive permanent installation in Brookfield Place. I invite you to visit and to walk the Hall of Fame. Well, nominations for the Canadian Business Hall of Fame are received on a rolling basis, And each fall, the CBHF Selection Committee has the incredibly difficult task of reviewing the applications and selecting our annual awardees. We express our immense gratitude to the Independent Selection Committee partner, which is Korn Ferry, and the Selection Committee members for their diligent reviews of all applicants. Would the Selection Committee please stand or wave? I think there's a few over there. Thank you all so much for your contribution. And to reflect upon the qualities recognized by the Order of the Business Hall of Fame and lead our induction ceremony, I welcome CBHF Chancellor Janice Fukakusa. Janice is a proud Canadian business executive, a passionate community leader, and an advocate for women, for underrepresented communities, and for students and education. In her role as Chancellor of the Toronto Metropolitan University, Janice is a voice for students and shares her experience to help students expand their learning. She previously served as both the Chief Financial Officer and the Chief Administrative Officer of the Royal Bank of Canada, and if I may say, helped lead RBC and Canada through the great financial crisis. Following her retirement from the bank in 2017, she joined numerous corporate nonprofit and government boards and was notably the founding chairperson of the Canada Infrastructure Bank's Board of Directors. This past December, Janice was appointed as a member of the Order of Canada. Congratulations. And I, when I was at BNN and new and just coming back from the United States to start at BNN, met Janice early on, and she was so welcoming. She actually invited me for lunch in the RBC boardroom, which was a real wow factor for me. So thank you so much, Janice. It's been wonderful knowing you. And ladies and gentlemen, our CBHF Chancellor, Janice Fukakusa.
Many thanks to Korn Ferry and my selection committee, some of who are sitting over there, who have donated their time and invested in the Canadian Business Hall of Fame. Tonight, we honor 5 outstanding and diverse Canadian leaders whose visionary careers have left an incredible mark on our economy and the global community. They've been chosen because they personify the qualities set out in our selection committee criteria. Each has demonstrated unique vision and undeniable leadership success. They have left a national footprint, creating jobs and economic growth and making Canada more competitive. They've been civic leaders, contributing to our prosperity through corporate social responsibility and philanthropy. They are widely respected by their peers as role models for enterprising young Canadians and our future leaders. The pandemic has changed our nation and our world, and the past 2 years have illustrated the importance of resilient and empathetic leadership, a healthy economy, and enduring international relationships, unifying us in our shared responsibility to the well-being and future readiness of the next generation. Our 2022 inductees embody these leadership values. They have made their marks in diverse industries, yet share a common passion to build organizations, pursue innovation, and have laid a foundation for the entrepreneurs and future business leaders. Their community investments and philanthropy have moreover enabled health advancement, neighborhood development, investments in arts and culture, support for vulnerable people, environmental protection, and eco-farming. We are all very proud to salute the distinguished 2022 inductees to the Canadian Business Hall of Fame: Maureen Kempston-Darks, Mr. Hassan Khosrowshahi, Paul Desmarais Jr., Andre Desmarais, and Paul Guy Desmarais. We are also pleased to have among us 2021 companion Kaylin Rovinescu, and to proudly recognize our 2021 companions: Kaylin Wavinescu, former CEO of Air Canada, Zita Cobb, former founder and CEO Shorefast, Fogo Island Inn, David Patchell-Evans, founder and CEO of Good Life Fitness, and Gordon C. Gray, former chairman and CEO, A.E. LePage Limited. Thank you to both our classes of companions for serving as exceptional examples for all of us and for helping inspire today's youth on their path to become tomorrow's leaders. We made our first inductions to the Canadian Business Hall of Fame back in 1979. Tonight's ceremony continues this now 43-year tradition of recognizing and celebrating some of Canada's leaders. The 2021 and 22 companions will join me on stage momentarily for a brief induction ceremony where each will receive a pin and sign the official CBHF registry. Each companion also receives an award, a hand-drawn portrait which is showcased in Brookfield Place, and a legacy video which we will all see shortly. And from this day on, in addition to the incredible designations each of these people carry after their name, they have the right to the designation of the Order of the Business Hall of Fame. In accepting this award, our companions commit to serving as role models for tomorrow's leaders. Their career and life lessons will be shared with the JA community, and you can all read their reflections and words of advice in the Globe and Mail Report on Business section, CBHF Special Edition, which is actually sitting on the table. Kaylin, Maureen, Hassan, Paul, and Andre, would you please come up to the stage? My pleasure to present you the companions of the Order of the Business Hall of Fame. We're now going to go through some of the process and the induction into the ceremony and the process, and we will then get to hear the great stories and spotlights of each of our companion. So I have the honor first of presenting the pins and the awards, and we'll have another photo op. So everyone, take your time and enjoy this moment, because I'm certain you all are. And now we get to spotlight each of our companions to see their inspiring stories and to hear from them directly. I have the honor of presenting our first companion whose video story I know will impress you. As one of the foremost women in business, she made her mark in an industry that was traditionally male-led, and in doing so, she has blazed a trail for so many, including me. Maureen Kempston Darks is an officer of the Order of Canada and a recipient of the Order of Ontario. Maureen is the retired General Motors Group Vice President, the former president of General Motors Latin America, Africa, and Middle East. Maureen set new standards of achievement for women in the automotive manufacturing industry. She held the highest operating post ever achieved by a woman at General Motors while overseeing operations internationally. And among Maureen's numerous philanthropic commitments, she co-chaired the BC Cancer Foundation's Millennium Campaign, focused on genome science and research into finding the cures for treatment of cancer.
Born and raised in Toronto, Maureen Kempston Darks would learn some of her greatest life lessons at a very young age.
My parents were Irish immigrants to Canada. My father died when we were young, leaving mother with 3 children to raise on her own. And it was a difficult time for us.
My mother was a very energetic lady, and she was a very courageous lady too, because after her husband died, she supported the family.
I really adopted my mother's sense of optimism. She used to say, you know, the only time you're beat is the time you're not there. And so it was that sense of optimism, that sense of self-reliance. It was hard work, and it was ethical values.
With ambitions to become a history teacher, Maureen enrolled at Victoria College. 4 years later, she moved across the road to join the University of Toronto Law School.
My education was the foundation for so many of the opportunities I had in business. It gave me credibility. It showed that I could achieve.
In 1975, she was called to the Bar of Ontario and earned employment at one of Canada's oldest law firms, Osler, Hoskin and Harcourt.
The people at GM of Canada were struck by Maureen's intelligence, her interest in the business, and they said, hey, this is somebody that we want on our team.
She understood the role of government. She worked with government. She understood the role of labor. She worked with labor. She was collaborative. She listened.
Maureen's star rose quickly, and she was gaining a lot of traction in an unconventional industry for woman leadership.
And that was an interesting fact because women actually buy 50% of the cars and trucks, and they influence 70% of the purchase decision.
There were a small number of women, Maureen being the predominant example, who had deeply felt passions about advancing women. And as she grew her career, she always looked behind her, and she was helping other women to see what the opportunities were.
For context, when Maureen was named president for GM Canada, it was the highest operating post ever held by a woman at General Motors.
The year was 1994, and Maureen saw more than just economic opportunities in the automotive industry.
I was always very much impressed. She was quite a success because she became the president of General Motors for Canada, so it was very unusual at that time for a lady. Very competent and no pretension.
It was a breakthrough appointment. It was front page news in Canada.
It would be on the finger of one hand, you could count them. She was a pioneer.
Maureen started the GM Canada Women's Council in the 1990s when she was president and managing director of General Motors Canada.
We wanted women to get together, to support each other, and to reach out to other women, bring them into the business.
Time and time again, I would see in the wake behind Maureen these tremendously talented women who were influenced by her, who are now running the company.
Today, the Women's Council is the largest and most influential employee group at General Motors Canada.
She was the one who broke the glass ceiling for women in Canada.
If not for pioneers like Maureen, you just wonder, would that have happened?
The most difficult transition was taking over the group vice presidency of GM Latin America, Africa, and the Middle East. This was 3 continents, 84 countries, 4 languages, and pretty much every religion in the world. And this certainly was not an area where they were used to having a woman come in as head of the region.
This is the most culturally diverse, geographically dispersed region that we have in the world. And this is the most fabulous collaborative leader who we know can pull it together.
And as always, she did it without fanfare, just got the job done and had the results to prove it.
In 2009, after 30 years of getting results, Maureen retired from General Motors, but her reputation keeps her plugged in to some of the world's biggest institutions.
She sits on a number of corporate boards, and these are not inconsequential boards.
I enjoy the dialogue around the boardroom table, around cultural change.
Maureen was made an Officer of the Order of Canada and received the Governor-General's Award in commemoration of the Persons case. In 1996, the University of Toronto recognized her with an honorary doctorate.
My mother always told me, be there to make a difference. That's what you're put on this earth to do, make a difference. As I stood on that stage and I received the degree. It was one of the highlights in my life because it brought so much of the things I value in life to the fore.
She gives credit not to herself, but she gives credit to her family, to her mother, to her brothers, to her husband Larry. She gives credit to everyone around her.
It's a very special thing for me to try to support other people that are the first generation in their family going to university. And education is something that you'll build your careers on. And that takes perseverance and resilience and the courage to ask questions. I often say to young people is don't overplan your career. Be optimistic, be open to the possibilities. But that, of course, means getting out of your comfort zone. Learn to do that early in your careers. And by getting out of your comfort zone, you will grow.
Please welcome Maureen Kempston Darks, inductee as Companion to the Order of the Canadian Business Hall of Fame.
Let me begin by saying how honored I am to be inducted into the Canadian Business Hall of Fame and to be in the company of such outstanding inductees. Janice, to you and the selection committee, a very special thank you. And to Junior Achievement, your work with young people in encouraging them to pursue their education and to gain insight in the world of commerce is simply invaluable in inspiring them to become our future leaders. Now, as I look back on my career, I think it was a combination of good fortune and hard work. Good fortune in that I was born in Canada. We had limited financial means, but I had the opportunity to attend and graduate from the University of Toronto. For me, education opened up my mind to new ways of thinking and showed me just how big life could be. My education became a building block to move forward in the business world. To the students here tonight, I encourage you to value your education and its importance. Learning will always be critical to your success. Leaders evolve. They take every opportunity to grow in their personal and professional lives, to understand what matters to people, to society, and how to make a positive difference in the world. I want to share a few lessons that I learned in my career with the young people here this evening. First, be open to the possibilities and be optimistic. Do not overplan your career. My 35-year career bore little resemblance to my original plans. I wanted to be a teacher, but with limited jobs available, I transitioned to becoming a lawyer, practicing law in a large Toronto law firm, then to a planned 2-year assignment at General Motors before returning to private practice. But I never left General Motors, and it ultimately became a 35-year career in law, finance, public policy in Canada and the United States, to the president of GM Canada, and finally to the group vice president of GM Latin America, Africa, and the Middle East. Every step in this career progression required me to get out of my comfort zone, and I came to truly enjoy the experience. I would encourage you to get out of your comfort zones and to take on new and different challenges. It's difficult at first, but you will grow from the experience. I think for business today, there is a choice to be made revolving around stepping forward into growth, which I equate to living, or stepping backward into safety and security, which is just existing. Next, be passionate about what you do. It creates positive energy. You experience the thrill of accomplishment when you set your sights high and far above the secure and the mediocre. You will not always get to the end point you set for yourself, but in striving so hard, you will accomplish a lot, you'll learn a lot, and you will inspire others. Next, be persistent and resilient. What differentiates great leaders and institutions from others is the ability to persevere and to overcome what seemed impossible at the outset. Know that your reputation and character are your most important assets. Your value system will be critical in building all of your endeavors. I believe it is essential for the organization and the individuals and employees to have a set of values that remain constant and which form the foundation of choices and actions. When confronted with difficult decisions, these values will help you make the decision more easily. Learn to be collaborative. Great ideas develop with input and inspiration from a variety of people and sources. The best decisions are those that are developed with the input of your team, with people that are entrepreneurial, that seek to add value, that constantly focus on the long-term objective and value diversity in all of its forms. Finally, develop a sense of humor. Not every day will be perfect, and you will be just amazed at the number of irritants that will find your way into your life. A sense of humor can break down barriers and lead to positive and lasting relationships. I can remember on my first trip into the Middle East, an Arab sheikh who had absolutely no reference point for doing business or socializing with a senior female executive asked me about my personal life, if I was married, if my husband had other wives. Well, at first I was shocked, but then I realized it was a genuine question from his perspective. All I could do was respond, well, not that I know of. You know, we both laughed, and a sense of humor can break down barriers and start very positive relationships. In closing, I would say this. I feel very fortunate for the career that I have had, and I am grateful to all of the people that I worked with along the way. I was inspired and supported by a truly great team of people. To the students here tonight, enjoy the wonderful opportunities that will lie ahead for you. Good luck to you all.
Maureen, such amazing words of wisdom that you shared with all of us tonight, and certainly towards the young people as well, but everybody in the room, and to having the purpose of having a sense of humor, which is tough. And there are many questions I'd love to ask you. but we don't have all the time. But I always love hearing executives' war stories, so you shared a little bit of one with the Arab Sheikh. But I also want to ask you a little bit about something that the former CEO of GM said about you, Mary Barra, who said that you demonstrated early on that advocating for diversity, equity, and inclusion isn't just the right thing to do, but our business success depends on it. How do you respond to that, and what would you say to business leaders today in terms of the importance of that and how to go about executing on it?
I think diversity is extremely important. It helps us to understand our customers, our markets, the desires of people who we want to support and bring them into our business. I think it helps us to think about innovations that matter to people, to truly respond to a diverse grouping of people in our country and make them part of our businesses. And I think it's important that we work very hard to bring that diversity into our companies and use it and value it. And it's proven that broader diversity in companies can bring better financial results, it can bring forward better opportunities for all people, and it makes a more holistic environment for employees. But I think we have to be careful on this. I think we need to get away from just diversity management to saying that we need to create cultures that really allow people to be included and to participate. So it's not about numbers, it's really about creating a cultural environment where all people can participate and perform and create value for the company and for the respective people. But again, we have a lot of work to do in creating the right culture.
We do. Maureen, thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. And it is to our second companion that we owe the invention of Canadian big box electronic stores, an Iranian-born entrepreneur and developer, a loving husband, father, and grandfather, and passionate patron of the arts. Mr. Kay, the chairman of Persis Holdings, is a recipient of the Order of Canada and the Order of British Columbia. Hassan founded Future Shop in 1982 and grew it to become the largest consumer electronic retailer in Canada. Today, through Persis Holdings, he focuses on real estate development, pharmaceutical royalties, and the music industry. He's a public policy leader and served as the former chair of the Fraser Institute. His family has supported the National Gallery of Canada, Vancouver Symphony, Vancouver General Hospital, and Share Family and Community Services.
If you don't mind, I would like to play one little piece to honor Hassan. He's devoted himself as a citizen of Canada to really furthering its interests, both culturally, economically, and politically.
Hassan Khosrowshahi and his wife Naz arrived in Canada in 1981. They knew no one in Canada, but had ambition and principles, lessons learned from their family's many successful businesses in Iran.
We kept our word. If we said we are going to do something, we would do it, and we would expect the other party to do so. And generally speaking, that worked.
Hassan is a man of very high integrity. And that is a very valuable thing to have, especially if you're a banker looking at a customer.
Hassan boldly embarked on a business he knew little about and barely existed in Canada at the time.
We were setting up a home in Vancouver, and I went to buy a TV and a video recorder, and it was a terrible experience. I thought this business could be run much better.
In 1982, Hassan Khosrowshahi opened the doors to the world's first Future Shop.
First store was on Broadway in Vancouver. It was just over 4,000 square feet, and everybody thought that I'm crazy.
Over the next 10 years, Future Shop expanded, opening more than 100 locations and employing over 15,000 people across Canada.
He did something nobody's ever done before, and in marching that concept across the country, he totally transformed the way Canadians buy consumer electronics.
My business motto is hard work, integrity, build a first-rate team, and motivate them, and think long-term.
But Future Shop was only part of the story. Through his company, Westbuild, Hassan was also making major real estate investments in shopping malls and housing developments for more than 10,000 families.
Risk is very important. I ran a very big business in Iran, and I wanted to replicate that in Canada. And that encouraged me to take a greater risk than a person would normally take.
He built 2 cities from scratch, Burke Mountain and Westwood Plateau. And he's in the process of building a 3rd.
When they build in this community, they're also really seeking to support families, to create family-centered, really inclusive, really environmentally sensitive places for people to live and thrive.
Hassan is a giving person. He cares about the places he lives. He gives back.
And I think that's part of their value system, and we see them show up all the time for us and for the community as a whole.
In 2001, Hassan sold Future Shop, then branched out again. Working with his son, Bazad, he purchased and privatized a drug royalty company, renamed it DRI Capital, and acquired more than $2 billion of royalties from some of the world's biggest pharmaceutical companies. Signaling its growth, DRI Healthcare listed on the TSX last year. In 2007, alongside his daughter Golnar, they established Reservoir Media, a music company listed on the NASDAQ exchange that now owns over 140,000 copyrights by a range of global superstars, from Joni Mitchell to Migos.
What I am proudest of is the work ethic of my children and the fact that they have willingly joined the business and taken up responsibilities.
What a family. Amazing family of merchants. That's Hassan, Nazi, Bazad, and Golnar.
A lot of people would say his legacy is the businesses he's built. I think Hassan's legacy is his family.
He stays out of the limelight, so most people don't know this, but I'm pretty sure that if there wasn't for Hassan and his wife Nazi, there wouldn't be a Vancouver Symphony Orchestra.
Passionate supporters of the arts, it came as no surprise when the Khosrowshahis were approached by one of the most famous musicians in the world, and an old friend.
I went to Hassan and Naz for help for Silk Road.
Yo-Yo Ma's vision was to create a global collective of musicians that performs, develops training programs, and commissions new works from composers and arrangers all over the world.
And they said, of course, we'll help you. But we want to introduce you to our daughter. And Golnar shows the same steady hand, clear thinking, full of fun, full of empathy, but always clear-headed.
I think Mr. K is a true visionary and a true example of what a leader should be.
He came to Canada. He knew no one. He had no contacts. And look where he is now. That's a massive accomplishment in anybody's books.
There's no question about the accomplishments of which we're celebrating tonight. But for me, it's the inner cultivation of Naz and Hassan and their family members that impressed me the most. And that cultivation is expressed in the outside world in terms of his community service, working for goals that are larger than himself.
Please welcome Hassan Khosrowshahi, inductee as Companion to the Order of the Canadian Business Hall of Fame.
I am honored and humbled by the recognition bestowed on me by the Canadian Business Hall of Fame Selection Committee, and I would like to take this opportunity to express my thanks and appreciation. It is important to point out that whatever I achieved has not been achieved by me alone. I would like to express my thanks to the members of my team, and especially mention Ardeshir Zia, who instilled merchant mentality into Future Shop operations and was instrumental in it getting a foothold in the Canadian market, Gary Patterson, who taught me about real estate financing and helped me navigate the treacherous currents of public markets, Randy Zion, who was always ready with sage advice, whether asked for or not, and Kevin Layden, who helped establish Future Shop as the dominant retailer in its field. Of course, I also need to mention my son Behzad and my daughter Golnar, who have built our next generation businesses in pharma, royalty, and music industry. I would also like to especially thank Bill Dalton, the former head of HSBC Canada, who unfortunately could not be here tonight, for the trust and confidence he placed in me in the very early days. However, just so that I do not take myself too seriously, I must mention that whatever success I have achieved, and I must say that there have been others who have achieved greater success, has not been solely due to my innate abilities. Luck and circumstances have had a lot to do with it. I started Future Shop in an industry which was on the verge of change and takeoff. The combination of computing and entertainment was not recognized, and the expansion of the market was still ahead of us. I started the business in West Canada, and for some time expanded under the radar. The big hitters, or those who considered themselves the big hitters in the East, did not notice the expansion of our business in the West. I got into land development business out of ignorance. I made the highest bid on a piece of property, and to my horror, I actually got it. Changes in the market made me look very prescient. Based on demographics, I believe that pharmaceuticals is a business with good prospects, but I was fortunate to enter the pharmaceutical royalty business. At the time, it was on the verge of a huge expansion. Likewise, I started investing in the music business, probably at the bottom of the market, when it had been decimated, and wrote the resurrection of the business on the advent of streaming. Add to that the fact that Future Shop, while successful and exciting business, was also a high-profile one and got more media attention than many other larger and more strategic businesses, and even my own other activities before and after owning it. All those factors have conspired together and brought me here tonight. I'm not complaining. At the age of 82, I will take my wins where I can get them. I have often been asked, what is my advice to young future leaders? The first bit of advice is don't drop out of university before graduation. For every Bill Gates, Michael Dell, Mark Zuckerberg, there are hundreds of others who have not made it. Study the business you are interested in. If possible, get a job with one of the leading companies in the field and learn what is happening, and only then, if you want to, strike out on your own. However, bear in mind that it is not always the best and only way forward. Above all, don't be afraid of failure. Execute on your bright ideas. Having said all that, I must also mention that I have not always followed my own advice. I started Future Shop without having any prior experience in retailing, and for a while, I paid for that dearly. I got my start in a very successful land development business simply because of ignorance and what looks in retrospect to have been great timing. If there is a unifying theme to take away from what I have done, it is one of hard work, a prudent but open appetite for risk, building great teams, and taking a long-term approach. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to extend my congratulations to my fellow inductees. And last, but by no means least, I would like to thank my wife, Naz, who has been with me in every step of the journey and has been instrumental in everything I have achieved. I would also like to say that there are not many other countries where a relatively new immigrant is so recognized, and that says a lot for the Canadian business community and society in general. I am proud to be part of this community. Thank you.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Mr. K, with all of those wins and all of the businesses that you are involved in currently and still, you're not really retired. How do you spend your time and your days? And I think as well, with all of those wins, what do you see now as an interesting opportunity?
Well, I get up 5 o'clock in the morning. I exercise, and while doing that, read the Wall Street Journal and Financial Times. And by 8 o'clock, I'm usually in the office. So if you call that retirement, that's good. There are a lot of opportunities. One needs to look around to take advantage of those. At the moment, I have my plate full, but that doesn't mean tomorrow I will not see something different.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again. 5 a.m. is when you're up. Okay. Well, next we will recognize not one, but 3 new companions who have shared a legacy of business leadership, establishing and growing one of Canada's preeminent financial organizations. We are privileged to welcome Andre, Paul Jr., and Paul-Guy Desmarais to the Canadian Business Hall of Fame. The first companion in our history to be bestowed the Order of the Canadian Business Hall of Fame posthumously, we are proudly honoring Paul-Guy Desmarais. Paul-Guy is a companion of the Order of Canada and member of the Order of Quebec. Paul-Guy was one of Canada's most exceptional entrepreneurs. Starting with a small bus company, he eventually acquired control of Power Corporation in 1968, building it into one of Canada's leading conglomerates. He served as chairman and chief executive officer of Power Corporation of Canada, and upon retiring, passed leadership to his sons. Throughout a lifetime of business, philanthropy, and active public engagement, he was dedicated to building a united, prosperous, and caring Canada. Mr. Desmarais passed away in 2013. He is the greatest source of inspiration for our next 2 companions, Paul Jr. and Andre Desmarais. Paul Desmarais Jr., Chairman of Power Corporation of Canada, is also a member of the Order of Canada and the Order of Quebec. Paul Jr. led the creation of Power Financial and served as president and executive chairman for 18 years, changing the landscape of financial services in Canada by consolidating major life insurance and mutual fund companies. Paul has dedicated himself to supporting the fight against poverty and exclusion. He is the first Governor Emeritus of Centraide of Greater Montreal. Andre Desmarais, Deputy Chairman of Power Corporation of Canada, is a member of the Order of Canada and the Order of Quebec. Andre led the industrial and media divisions at Power Corporation. Appointed co-CEO in 1996, he and Paul moved Power's interests into financial services. He played a pivotal role in the opening of Canada's business relations with China. He has been active in many charitable campaigns, notably the Montreal Heart Institute, which has become world-class in clinical research and precision medicine.
guess I'm getting too old. I'm old-fashioned. I still have cue cards. Bonsoir à tous. Good evening. Let me begin by expressing my thanks to the Canadian Business Hall of Fame. We are truly honored with a special induction, especially when you think that it's my father, my brother, and myself together. It's a wonderful and very emotional moment. Many of you will know my dad's reputation as one of Canada's most exceptional entrepreneurs and larger than life, truly a great Canadian. If you didn't, you certainly know after that video. But as passionate as he was about doing deals and growing Power Corporation and being in charge, that's for sure. I remember Jim Burns explaining to me when I'd come out from the great INSEAD Business School, and I'd learned every organizational chart, you know. And I was in charge of planning, so I was doing some drawings, and Burns said, Paul, wait a minute, let me show you how it works here, what the organization is. So he drew a hub, and he drew a wheel, and he drew a bunch of spokes. And he said, you see how it works? Your dad's the hub, and you and I are spokes. You understand that? So, oh boy, so I caught on pretty quickly. But his real passion, I think in the end, was his family. And I say that his support for the founding of Power Financial at the time, it was the fashion, you know, putting all these financial services groups together, including, frankly, the appointment of me as president at 36. You know, in retrospect, I was pushing like mad. But now that I'm older, I thought he must have been crazy. I don't know what he was thinking. But I think one thing's for sure. It was an incredible act of faith. And I have to say, it's unusual for an entrepreneur. He didn't micromanage, didn't meddle. He was always supported. And he really allowed me to do what I wanted to do, which is to be a builder. That's really what I was about. And he was behind me every inch of the way, and I never could have done it without him. I owe a similar debt of gratitude to my mom. She was an exceptional person in her own right and a passionate leader in the community with a deep understanding and love for arts. She brought light, joy, and true energy to our lives. I think, in fact, Fanny and I are two energy bunnies. You should have seen my mom. She was the ever-ready battery itself. I really couldn't have asked for better parents, and I owe them both my everlasting thanks. I have to admit to feeling a bit diffident tonight as an individual, presuming to accept this honor, for it is truly an honor that should be shared with many talented executives that had a huge impact on Power Corporation. And frankly, they really changed my life. One person who's not here tonight, of whom I'd like to make a special mention, is Robert Gratton. His financial acumen, his analytical abilities, tenacity, business insight, my mind were in parallel. I actually feel he was a phenomenon of his generation. And I want to thank him and acknowledge his incredible contribution. Ray McFeeters, who is here tonight, who led Great West Life Co., was an energetic and forceful operator on those foundational deals. And with his unrelenting determination, he ensured flawless execution. I want to thank Michel Plessis-Belair, our CFO, Power Financial, who made critical contribution. His skills as CFO were exceptional, but Michel was also wise, and he kept us, frankly, grounded. And at times, I tell you, there's so much electricity in those rooms, we could have gone nuts. They call it deal fever, I think. And he was terrific. There were two key advisors that I'd like to thank, played a big role in our life and our lives, Jeff Ford and David Jackson. Jeff was the key financial advisor in all our deals. And you can imagine, he impressed us so much, we managed to ultimately convince him to leave fabulous bank here that supported us tonight. And Darrell White, by the way, I want you to know, was the junior in those days, doing the numbers for Jeff like mad all night. So the world is small. But he was so terrific. He joined us at Power, and he succeeded Robert Gratton, which, frankly, were big shoes to fill. I want to make
mention David Jackson because he was with us on all our deals, and he was, of course, our lead counsel. And frankly, he's the best lawyer you could ever have on any key deals because our deals were big, they were complex, they were unfriendly. At the time, every one was the biggest one in Canada. One after the other, they became the biggest. And I thought, God, surely not going to pay more than $3 billion. By the last one, we're up to $7 billion. And now Darrell White tells me he's paying $20 billion, for God's sake, for companies. So I don't know where we're going. But I can tell you at that time, we were nervous wrecks. And having a steady hand of David Jackson, who would stay up all night. I still remember, it's just an anecdote, but it's so funny. David Jackson, Graton was so tough. He'd say, okay, it would be midnight. We're saying, okay, we got to go to bed. Okay, now, David, you're going to write this up again. Write it all up. Refix it. Do this, that. We'll see it at 8 o'clock sharp tomorrow morning. So, of course, gee, I'm thinking to myself, you know, these lawyers think how A, B, C, and then you refer to Section D and then Section 1A and something. I mean, it's enough to drive you nuts. And how your mind can do that between 12 midnight and 8 in the morning, I don't know. But I can tell you, he had a hell of a capacity. And of course, he'd show up at 8 in the morning, fresh as a daisy, ready to go, and everything, of course, with fluid logic and perfect. And so there you have it. But I'd say without these individuals, I would not have been blessed with a career that, frankly, I've so much enjoyed. Now, there's something very important in that career, and I want to sincerely thank my brother, who's right here. Together, we made decisions to pivot and to go deep into financial services. And you saw Andy was in the industrial side. It was a big decision. And throughout it all our big deals, I'd say we reinforced each other's courage, because by God, we needed it, as we made those moves. And I must say, it felt great to have somebody there next to you who knew you had your unconditional support. And that was my brother. And boy, we were both feet in it, up to our eyeballs. So as you heard in the video, we do everything unless we both agree. And that was the secret of our partnership. Two very big things. My father was smart enough to each give us our zones and our areas. And it was great because it gave us air to breathe. It gave us a chance to both, in a sense, develop in our own worlds and play our own leadership with our own teams. But in the end, we both had the money in it, and both of us came together on all big decisions. And it was terrific because it was always a check on my own thinking, and I suppose, I hope I was a check on his thinking. And so it was fantastic. So Andy and I were blessed with a fabulous group of executives that are currently leading our group, along with Jeff Hoare, who's now, frankly, an outstanding CEO. We're blessed to have him. And we have two exceptional leaders, and Paul Mann, who's here tonight, head of Great-West Lifeco, Canada Life, and James O'Sullivan, who's leading IGM. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here with your teams. We're adjourned here tonight, of course, by so many members of our boards, our superb colleagues throughout our groups, and we just cherish all of you and what you've done for us. So thank you all for this great contribution over so many years. Your coming out tonight, this evening with us, is really very meaningful. I must express, finally, my deep thanks to my wife, Hélène. Hélène is a dynamo. I don't know where they coined the word supermom, but I know where she is in our place. She's a supermom. She's the most caring and loving, supportive person that I could ever imagine. Frankly, she has tempered me, taught me to be more patient, less pushy. God knows I was a little too pushy at times, and hopefully wiser. Sharing our lives, raising our children together, has been the greatest joy of my life. And finally, I want to salute and thank my kids, Paul Alexander, Nicholas, and Charles. They have all launched their own exciting careers, and they have welcomed me in helping them build their business. And that, I can tell you at this stage of my life, is a real joy. So I wish all of the JA kids to have the immense pressure I had in building companies, my kids are having in building companies. And I wish all of you to have one thing in common, which I have, is that at the end of your career, if you have a lot of people to thank and a lot of people that made a difference in your life, you know what? With a little luck, as Hassan says, you're going to make it, because people are the difference in our lives. Thank you.
I don't want those two, not grandchildren, but sons to think that we're out so quickly. J'aimerais débuter en remerciant le Temple de la Renommée de l'entreprise canadienne pour cette intronisation. C'est un grand honneur et vous me voyez très honoré. I'd like to say before I start that I would like to thank my father-in-law for being here, Mr. Chrétien, because at the age of 88 years old, I'm not sure I'm going to be there for my son-in-law when he gets a prize. He has a lot of energy and he's a fantastic man. I too wish to express my sincere congratulations to Maureen and to Hassan on their amazing accomplishments. So let me begin by stressing that this honor does not belong only to the Desmarais. It also belongs to those special people who have each worked with us over decades to drive our success. I'm thinking of people like Peter Curry, Jim Burns, Frank Knowles, Robert Gratton, Ray McFeeters, Michel Plessis-Belair, John Ray, don't worry, it's not the Oscars tonight, but it's going to sound like it, on continuing now with our CEO, Jeff Orr, alongside Greg Tretiak and Claude Ginnerer. I want to thank them all for their incredible work, their amazing commitment, and for putting heart, soul, and great good humor into our work together. I would add my appreciation to our loyal team at Power Corporation, too numerous to name, and the leaders and the colleagues at Great West Lifeco and IGM, of which are here this evening, many of them, and we could not have achieved that without each and every one of you. And finally, I would like to thank our board of directors, which have given so much of their time and insights, and that we otherwise would not have had without them. Each and every one of you have made an important contribution for which both Paul and I are very grateful. I would also be remiss if I did not thank Guy Crevier and Pierre-Éliott Levasseur for their leadership at La Presse, as well as Peter Kreit and Henry Liu for their leadership in China. None of it would have been possible without them, and I'm eternally grateful. Our dad was a gifted entrepreneur who built an incredible team around Power Corporation. My mother was like no one you could imagine. Strong, fun, loving, caring, a true dynamo. She played a key role in my development, and they remain my inspiration. My sisters Louise and Sophie were also an important part of my life, and I'm better for it because of them. They are both wonderful people and deserve acknowledgement. I also must thank my father for the care with which he mentored us, starting with our teens and later allowing us to be decision makers. We obviously made some mistakes, maybe more than I would have liked, but anyhow. And he always allowed us to have our own successes. After all, we were named at a relatively young age of 39 and 41 as co-CEOs. One thing that occurred to me while I was watching the video is that my father did not get all the credit that I think he deserves, as the video also had to cover my brother and myself. In reality, posthumous tributes are always dangerous, and I would never want to be accused of not giving him every ounce of success, every ounce of credit, which he so richly deserves. As chairman and CEO at the time of Power Corporation, my father ultimately decided to sell Consolidated Bathurst and Montreal Trust. And that is what truly set the table for Paul and I to bid on London Life. And I think Paul described the lunch that we had together when we decided madly to go against the Royal Bank, but anyhow, we did. And my father had left us with a clean and very strong balance sheet. What else can any two young CEOs ask for? Another really important factor was when we were named co-CEO, I was never quite sure whether or not we would be continued to be schooled or whether or not we were true CEOs. Well, I got that answer rather quickly. He allowed us to go ahead against the Royal Bank. Imagine, he had truly turned the reins over to the both of us. God bless him. When Paul and I gave the go-ahead to buy London Life, that was really important, much more than we realized, because it was our first big deal together as partners. It established the foundation of our unique partnership. And here I would certainly like to pay tribute to my brother, who has been a fantastic person to work with. He's an amazing partner. We have totally different points of view on just about everything, and yet come together on most things. And when they're really important, we always come together. And that has really been a rather remarkable career. I also, like him, feel that because he had Europe and I was able to go to China, it gave us each what I call a pressure valve, because those are the two places where we don't interfere with each other. We're free to do what we want, and it's wonderful. I would be remiss, with all my time away over many years in China and serving on various boards and committees, if I did not thank my wonderful and loving wife, France, for her strong and continued support, not to mention her reliable and great advice always. I also want to thank each one of my 4 children, Olivier, Maximilian, Philip, and Jacqueline, and their spouses, Adriana, Amanda, and Adrian, for the 9 of the loveliest grandchildren one could ever have been blessed with. Thank them also for their patience throughout the years and their advice. I have grown through them, and I could not have had a more special family. You need to know that each one of you are a part of this honor. Thank you again to the Canadian Business Hall of Fame for this very appreciated and special evening. Stay healthy and stay safe.
Maureen, Hassan, Paul, Andre, and Paul Guy, congratulations. You inspire us all. And again, a big thank you to our presenting sponsor, BMO. Thank you very, very much for making tonight possible. And to all the sponsors and our guests, thank you. We appreciate the work of the staff organizers who have made tonight so special, and the food was fabulous, and it was so fabulous to be together in person. Again, it's been 1,058 days since we've done this. So a big thank you to all of our guests by joining us here tonight. You have supported junior achievement to reach more students across Canada than ever before. We hope that you have enjoyed the event, and please ensure to take your copy of the Globe and Mail for the inspiring stories in the CBHF special section. And the staff will collect any cards that you might leave in case you would like to join and participate even more so than you have done so tonight. Thank you again. Have a wonderful night. Get home safely, and we hope to see you back here next year.